I am Dean Bushmiller with Expanding Security, and this is System Lifecycle Management. If you're not seeing the full version of this, go to expandingsecurity.com. You can also get quizzes, glossaries, readings, and this mind map with all the dynamic links. Use or consumption of this material by AI is expressly forbidden. Let's get started. System life cycle. Well, is it the system or is it the software? And we always run into this problem. Then the other question you have is, did you buy it? Did you build it? Did you customize it? I mean, where are you on the scale of all of this stuff? Are you doing this once or are you doing this multiple times? Because that could be the case. Here's the reality. Most organizations evolve over time, and the software, the systems must follow that evolution. They don't stay still. I mean, you don't buy one operating system and leave that operating system in place completely. You go, okay, well, we'll do the next version because we want these new features, or we need these new security updates, so we'll go to this next thing. Also, the other problem that we run into here with these systems is that many projects fail. I've been on 2 projects that have completely and miserably failed in my life. But I'm 50% because I've been on 2 projects that completely succeeded and were wonderful. And currently, I'm on a project for myself, for my own company, that I think is going pretty good. Why does that happen? Well, that's because you start getting good at what you do. You start building process for what you do. The other thing that we have to ask, and this is the generic thing that we zoom out at the enterprise level, are we treating this like it's design or are we treating this like it's manufacturing? I mean, business wants to treat this like Legos and just go, we could just keep on stacking bricks and bricks and bricks and bricks until we reach the sun. And developers want to treat this like magic, like, you know, look, I have my magic wand also, but sorry, this thing doesn't work. Okay, so it's somewhere in between. It's the magician made of Legos. How's that for an analogy there? We have to balance that out. So this is really, it's a software project. I mean, and we could call it a system project if you want to, but I use the generic term of software here. We have to have a defined start and finish criteria. When does this project start? When does this project end? When do I start giving you money? When do I stop giving you money? For what? Well, to create a product or service in accordance with the specified resources and requirements as an organization. We really want a proven life cycle so that we can reduce uncertainty. If somebody's never done this before and they're doing it a new way, you're asking for it, okay? Failure is a very good option at that point. Now, the discussions must always be supported by realistic process and product estimations and measurements. I'm sure that if you've ever looked up what the customer expects and what the developer gave them and what the technical requirements said, if you've ever seen that, it's the difference between the customer flying around in a rocket ship with a bubble over the top and the developer giving you a bicycle with wheels, with extra wheels on it. So those 2 expectations of what the customer wants and what the developer codes for because it's what you said really cause lots of problems. Okay, so what's the goal of software or systems? Okay, delivery of some sort of mission objectives. So it could be supporting a subset of the mission objectives. And I'm going to give you an example, but remember, this is based upon limited resources. And so there's business constraints in this. We have time constraints, we have money constraints, we have personnel constraints, we have limitations because we're in particular businesses and there are regulations. So the example that we're going to use here throughout this entire presentation is one of me. So our mission at Expanding Security is to make the internet a safer place to do business through teaching cybersecurity. That's what we do. We're teachers. And we do that with freedom, responsibility, and security for all. Okay, now let's break down the components of what we do at Expanding Security. First off, there's some sort of selling activity and some sort of delivery activity, but we're focusing in on something that's a software thing, which is building courses. Now, what I've done with the project that I'm working on right now is I've set an objective, and I have said we want to decrease the time to market of individual courses. That's really our goal. So I want to be able to create a course faster. It's got to be same high quality, but it's got to go faster. And so I set a metric for my developer. And I said, I want you to decrease creation time with all the tools that we're building inside of here by 50%. That's the goal. Is that attainable? Yeah, I think it is attainable. If you look at the speed of courseware creation, like if you would go create your own course, you'll find out roughly it takes about 16 hours for somebody who's done it once to create an hour's worth of content. So the ratio is 16-1. If you're really good and you've been doing this for a while, you can get that down to 12-1. And so I want to cut that down to 6-1 or better. I mean, that's really the ultimate goal. I put a business constraint on this and I said, I want to do this. I don't want to do this as software as a service. I don't want to buy it from somebody else. I don't want to rent it from somebody else. This must be local processing that happens on my machine. I don't want an external website. I don't want to run this in AWS. None of that stuff here in my devices that I have here. Even if I have to run my own local server, that's fine, but it has to be here and nowhere else and not depending on it. So if the internet gets cut off tomorrow, I can still keep on creating courseware. Okay, so take that, and now what we're going to do is we're going to switch over to kind of the components. The generic life cycle. This is the generic life cycle. We'll get into the specific different kinds of life cycles later on. But the generic life cycle starts up as a concept. The stakeholders' needs are identified. So my developer says, courseware creation. Okay. But how are we going to do that? I mean, is he making the video go faster? Or are we compressing the video faster? What are we doing? Are we, what components are we putting together here? And so then we explore the concept together. And I say, we want to do a couple of different things here. One of them is I want to be able to do local research more efficiently. I have a library of courses. I have a library of content that I already have. And I also have a library of books that I have. And I want to be able to reach into those books and grab that information readily and present it on the screen so that I can go, okay, this is the thing that I have to talk about. This is the concept that I have to discuss. And that's really good in that book. And that's really good in that book. And that's really good in that special publication. And that's really good in that RFC. And I want to pull those things together and put them together. And you see that in these courses here. So then my developer says, okay, there are a couple of different solutions. Notice that's plural. A couple of different solutions that we can go with this, we can go with that, we can do this. Let's look at all the components in this. And by the way, in that project, when I outlined it at first, the level of components for the business components that we had there for what is the business proposal or achievement that we're trying to do, it had something like 70 components. So it's pretty complex and pretty detailed. Okay, so we've got the concept. Now we want to do development. This is not coding. This is not fingers on the keyboards yet. What we have to do is we have to figure out the requirements of the user's needs, and they need to be refined. Okay, Dean wants to search his own library. Does he want to go ahead and get the whole book? Can we just use like a PDF search or something like that? I mean, what can we use here? Should we use AI? Should we use pedantic search, or a whole bunch of other different tools that are out there? So we narrow the scope into these different components and we decide on solutions that are possible here. The solutions are created. They're not developed at this point, but my developer said, okay, well, we can do this stuff in this area and this stuff in this area. We can do that stuff over there. One of the things that he said was, we can use AI to help you with this, to find this information more elegantly. We can use this tool to go ahead and do this thing. I said, I don't want to use that tool. So, well, we can use this tool. And I said, well, does that tool meet these criteria? He goes, no, well, that one doesn't meet that criteria. I'm like, okay, well, we kind of narrow this down. And so Then we start defining system components, and those system components are built or bought. In the case of an interface for me, we decided to go with a tool called Streamlit because it was easy to do lots and lots of iterations on. We can go ahead and use the Streamlit app and it'll give me all these details that I need. And it works within the confines of my environment, okay? And he says, well, this is what we're intending on doing. Is that what you meant? And I go, yeah, that's what I meant. Okay, let's start building. That's production. We do assembly of system components, that's coding that may achieve the objective. Operative word there is may. Then we test where the code is proven to achieve those objectives. So this is a lot of different components moving together to make me more efficient at what I'm doing. When we got our first interface and I wanted to go searching through a particular piece of the interface, I wanted to use regular expressions, but I wanted to use some simplified regular expressions to search my library. I said, I want these regular expressions right here. And we used the not, the and, the nor, and the parentheses around things. And when I went to go search, it looked like I was getting results because that's what the developer coded for. But when I actually tested it and I tried to do a couple logical conditions right in a row, it failed miserably. So we had to prove that it actually worked. After we get past that stage of things, we do utilization. And that's something that operates, that does what it's supposed to do. And I've been with my developer, we've been building those components, and I'm getting faster and faster and faster. Hopefully I'll achieve my objective. Next is support. And that achieves a satisfactory operation. Does this run continually? One of the things that we realized was we needed a database locally. And I didn't want to install a database locally, so what we did was we said, okay, we're going to use a Docker container to put our database in so that we don't have to worry about that Docker container and that database, getting all weird. And so we realized that we had to change the way we're doing it. We realized that Streamlit wasn't going to work very long because it had a caching problem in it. So what we did is we said, okay, well, we're going to adjust to this. And that means it's in the environment and it's working. There can be at the end retirement. There isn't, okay? But if there is, then we have to dispose of the system. You go, Dean, but when I was learning from this thing and that thing and this thing, they didn't use those terms. Remember, I said this is the generic way to do this. We'll get into the specific different development methodologies later on. So why are we doing this? What's the goal of life cycle? Okay, this is to speed up the execution of development of systems. So my developer has a very clean process that they use with all the tools that they use to make sure that we get a good system that goes faster so that he can program faster for me. And ultimately, it's to reduce the waste in development of systems. So don't keep on repeating the same mistakes over and over and over again. So I hope you'll join me for the entire presentation.